welcome to Real Simple, where I, Janessa Turvis, simplify all things real estate. So this month, we are talking about taxes. We are in the midst of tax season, so I kind of want to give out some pointers on what you can do as far as your taxes go and talking to your accountant in relation to real estate, as well as to answer some questions on like capital gains taxes. So first tip, if you sold your home last year, then you want to make sure to take your settlement statement to your accountant. Now, if you worked with me last year in selling your home, you should have already received your settlement statement either by email or by mail, depending on how we discussed you wanted to receive it. But if you did not work with me and sold your home, make sure to talk to your realtor. The other thing that you want to think about and talk to your accountant about is write-offs. As long as you have a mortgage on your home that you're living in right now, talk to your accountant about writing off the interest payment, because that can be super helpful. So let's talk about capital gains taxes, because I get questions all the time about capital gains from my sellers specifically, wondering, what they're walking into in the next tax year as far as that goes. So as long as you have lived in your home, you're selling your home, you've lived in your home primarily as your primary residence, then you probably will not be subject to capital gains taxes if you were to sell. If you are single, you don't have to pay taxes on the first $250,000 of your gains. So a lot of times it's hard to get there. Within the last few years, depending on when you bought, if you sold in the last couple years or selling now, you may be close to that just because house prices have jumped up so much. But let's talk about that if you're thinking of selling. If you are married, that jumps up to $500,000. So you don't have to pay taxes on the first $500,000 of gains. So that's not like price of the house, that's gains. So that's quite a bit of money. There is new legislation out in conversation for like elderly couples that may have bought their home long ago. It's paid off. They're definitely close to that threshold, especially if you are a widow or a widower and suddenly your cap is at $250,000. That doesn't really seem fair if you're going to have to pay capital gains taxes when you own your home, you've lived in it, and your spouse is no longer with us. So I will kind of keep you guys updated on what that looks like in the future. Again, like I said, because house prices have risen so much and people are actually getting close to that cap. The other thing is, if you do have an investment property, so if you had a home and you lived in it and then you bought and then you decided to rent out your other home, but now you want to sell it. So in order to avoid paying capital gains taxes there, you had to have lived in the home consecutively for 2 years out of the last 5 years. So as long as that house hasn't been treated as a rental for like more than 3 years, essentially, then you should be okay as far as the capital gains taxes when it goes to selling that home. If you're past that, then that'll be another conversation to be had. On the same note, if you are past that and you are looking to sell, if you're interested in still staying in the real estate investment market, you can do what we call a 1031 exchange. So basically, you sell your current investment property. The gains that you have from that investment property have to be used to buy another like property. So this is a good way to like kind of build your real estate investment profile, but by deferring having to pay those capital gains taxes. So like a great example is if you had a single family home and you sold that rental, we did the 1031 exchange and you went and bought like a duplex. So now you have like 2 avenues of that passive income, right? from essentially 2 homes, so 1 home to 2 homes, and you use the gains from the single home in order to buy that duplex, we can do that 1031 exchange to kind of defer those taxes a little bit. So that's kind of the scoop on capital gains taxes, taxes in real estate, things to think about. I will say, backing up a little bit too, there are other exemptions. So say you owned your home for less than 2 years, then say you work for like a government job. If you have a government job and they're transferring you to another state or location or whatever, you usually can be exempt from paying those capital gains taxes if you're being transferred for work or whatever. And there's some other ones too. So just things to think about and conversations to be had if you're looking at selling and have been in your home for 2 years. But if possible, you want to be in your home at least 2 years before you sell. And I think that's really important to think about as you go into purchasing a home as well. What is your plan? If you plan to buy but you don't think you're going to be in there for 2 years, you might reconsider like what that plan looks like. Maybe you are going to keep it for rental, or who knows. But if you're thinking of selling before the 2-year mark, you might want to back up a second, just because you don't want to be subject to that, whatever it is, 25+% of capital gains taxes. I hope that answers some of the questions on capital gains. Again, talk to your accountant going into this tax season if you sold within the last year, or if you bought and you have a mortgage on your home and you want to look at kind of writing off that interest and what that looks like. So talk to your accountant about your real estate. Thank you for tuning in this month to Real Simple. Don't forget to subscribe below. If you have any questions, please put them below. And if there's any topics you want me to cover, please put those below as well. I will see you all next time. Bye.